Okay, we're going to get started here. Hi, this is Mary Ann Smith from the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank Kitchen, and this is live. Today is May 9th, but recently we celebrated a holiday. I want you to type in your message bar, what holiday just happened last week? What holiday just happened last week? Let's see who knows the answer to our trivia questions today. So you can just,
Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Mayo.
We've got a Cinco de Mayo, and you are correct, Cinco de Mayo, which is not Mexico's Independence Day. What? Who thought it was? I did, until I did the research. Actually, it's even more celebrated here in the United States than it is in Mexico. We've really Americanized a battle that was fought between the French and the Mexicans way back when, and it was a battle where they were very understaffed, about 2,000 men to the 6,000 French warriors that they were fighting, and they won. And so because of that, the word of that battle got out, and people were excited, especially people who lived up this way in north of Mexico, especially in California. And so they decided to celebrate it by celebrating Cinco de Mayo, meaning, I just found this out, the 5th of May. I don't know why I didn't know that, but now I do. And so Cinco de Mayo is what we're gonna focus on today. And especially, as you can tell from the display, beans. We've got beans, and more beans today. But I have a couple more trivia questions for you, so get your fingers ready to type in your answer. Succotash, which is kind of like a Pennsylvania Dutch thing, is a combination of corn and what bean?
Limas.
We got an answer, and it is lima beans. Who was right on that one, Nellie?
Jan Albertson.
Jan Albertson, you are one smart cookie. All right, next one. What state in the United States is the top producer of dried beans with 32% of the total bean production in the United States? What state? I'll give you a hint. It's not Pennsylvania.
Come on, Jan, don't let me down.
Who's got that answer?
Nothing.
I'll try to do a little salsa here. Get you ready.
Salsa. Come on,
Get you
anyone.
ready.
Don't make me make it up. Oh,
Make
yeah.
a statement.
Erica said, no clue. And Marie, Texas.
Texas, not a bad guess.
All right.
They're about third.
North Dakota.
North Dakota. Who is that, Brainiac?
Adam Smith.
Adam Smith, way to go. That's my boy. You must have Googled it, didn't you? All right, here we go. Another one. What are the most widely consumed beans in the world? And it is a common one.
Is that soy?
Soy would be incorrect, but I appreciate your interaction.
Sorry, Adam. Pinto.
The answer is, drum roll, Nellie. Garbanzo beans.
Jan got it again, right at the buzzer.
Jan, you should be teaching this. All right. It is garbanzo beans, also known as chickpeas. All right. When we talk about beans, we also talk about gas. What is the best way to get rid of some of the gas when cooking with beans? I know this one. And you still have to eat them, so that's not a good answer.
Come on, guys, come on.
You got it, come on.
If they seen your video on YouTube, they would know.
Yes, they would, and they might learn this today if they stick around.
Soak them before cooking.
And who said that?
And Mr. Adam Smith.
Adam Smith. You got it. That's my boy right there. All right, way to go. And the last one for your trivia moment today. Chickpeas are ground into a dip called what? And if you live in America today,
hummus.
Oh, and do we have hummus from all our participants?
Anne Marie, everyone's getting it.
Anne Marie, way to go. It is called hummus, and they flavor them with all.
And Marie.
Oh, and
also Marie.
Also Marie.
Marie.
Okay, Marie. Thanks, Marie.
No,
Good
not
job.
like Anne Marie, but just Marie.
Okay, we got Anne Marie.
Nope.
Oh, and Marie.
Yeah, just
all right, so whether they're called pulses, legumes, or beans, They're all the same and they are all great for you. In fact, they're so great.
How great are they?
That the USDA recommends that 3 cups a week. That would be average of a half a cup of cooked beans a day. I say save them up for the weekend. Half a cup a day. In fact, they're so good, but it's those sugars inside of them that actually cause that gas. And we're going to talk about cooking beans in a little bit here, but beans by themselves are a great source of protein for vegans, vegetarians, and also us carnivores. So really great for you. They only contain about 6 to 7 grams of protein per half cup, 10% of your recommended daily allowance of protein, which is great. It's equal to a serving of meat, okay, which is equal 1 to 1. They have 25 to 30% of your dietary fiber. That's the stuff that just keeps everything moving inside. And so you want to make sure it can count either as a protein food or it can also count as a vegetable, but you can't count it as both. There is no double dipping when it comes to beans.
Or bean dip, or bean dip.
Or bean dip, there you go. Also, it is a rich source of iron. It's a good source of potassium. In fact, in this can right here, it has 8% in a half a cup. And we know that potassium works to lower your blood pressure. So it's a great thing for anybody to include in their diet. It's also fat-free. And here's a tricky one, gluten-free. They love to put that on everything now because people are like, yeah, I want to be gluten-free. Gluten-free, so beans, whether they're in their dried form or canned form, they're good for you. And so when we talk about beans, we use them a lot of times, maybe to save a little bit of money. It's really interesting how much you can save when you use beans for your protein. Actually, a half a cup of pinto beans, which I think I have my stack here and I also have them dry, cost you about 67 cents a cup for the name brand. 67 cents a cup, that's pretty good, considering it could be an ounce of meat. But if it's a store brand, bring it down. 33 cents a half cup. But if you do all the work, which isn't very much, to dehydrate these dried beans, you have a protein source for 17 cents for an ounce. Now that's a great deal. Give it a hand, everybody. We're saving money here as long as we're eating our beans. So we're going to start with today's recipe, which is one of my husband's favorites. He loves this. It's easy. It's made in one pan. And so we're going to make our one pan Mexican meal here. And you can find that recipe on our website. And the things that are in it today are, we have a pound of ground beef, which you could make it vegetarian and not include that. We have a yellow onion for flavor, a green pepper. And if you watched my last live, how much capsaicin's in this green pepper? 2. 0. 0. We also have a can of black beans, which I actually rinsed ahead of time, a can of refried beans, and a jar of salsa. And tomato season's coming. We'll probably make a lot of that. We might even have a video on that when this season comes. We also have some shredded cheese. This is Mexican style blend, a combination of about 3 or 4 different kinds. And then we have some toppings, which I usually don't serve with it, but it's always a good idea if you want to spice it up a little bit. So we're going to get started here. We're going to turn on our frying pan. Last time I almost started the kitchen on fire, so let's see if I can not do that this time. And we're just going to brown our beef, our ground beef. And of course, I knew somebody would ask, well, what about using ground turkey? Well, you certainly can do that. Just be aware that ground turkey isn't always the wonderful nutritional deal you think it is. Make sure you're looking at what brand you're buying and what they're using in that. I actually just looked it up because I knew you'd ask. Ounce for ounce, ground turkey has slightly more calories, fat, cholesterol, and sodium. They got to get that flavor somehow compared to ground beef. But ground beef has more protein, iron, zinc, and B vitamins. Where they say it's healthier, saturated fat. We know our red meats have a lot of saturated fat. And so, actually, is this on? I'm not feeling your nose.
Please hold. Hey, can you talk about regular refried beans versus fat-free refried beans while I figure this out?
I could, and actually I might be able to switch over to this burner. Or is it there a thing on? DD me.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, okay. Anyway. Oh, okay. We might do this stovetop here in a minute.
We need an induction pan.
Oh no. Well, we can use a pot.
We can use a pot. Because
Sure.
it's a one-pot meal.
Here we go. Nellie's in the background, but she's always at my right hand. So we're gonna use, are you sure this is an induction one?
And why didn't the induction work? What's up with induction? What's different from that?
That's a good question. Would anybody like to answer that for Nellie? Apparently it doesn't make the right contact with the burner there, and it could actually do some damage. And so had I known that, I would have started in the pot. Now you can hear that sizzle, which is just what we want to hear. So we are going to brown this. And in the meantime, since this might take a little bit, I'm going to chop up my green pepper, my bell pepper, and also my onion. Remember, if you have a lot of extra things, extra produce, maybe in season, or there's a good special at the store where you can buy a lot of these things, onions and green peppers chop up beautifully for the freezer. And when you cook them, they don't really change too much of the taste or the texture. And so it's a really good way to save yourself some money. So I'm going to chop these up. What are you doing? Up there she is. She's the best. In the meantime, I have a bunch of pictures of different types of beans on the board. And our activity for today will be for you to see how many of these you know. Now, if you were nearby, I might be able to send you home with dinner today as the grand prize.
Are we gonna do this now? Would you like to show them the beans now?
We are going to show them the beans now while I'm getting this cooking and chopping things up. And before we show you the list of possibilities, we're going to go over here to the first picture. Go to number 1, Nellie, and you're going to try to name that bean. There's a little bit of glare on there, but I think overall you can see that. Number 1, write down your answer on that piece of sheet I asked you to get, a sheet of paper. While I brown this beef.
How about number 2?
Number 2, what bean do you think that one is?
Looks like a chocolate chip bean.
It's actually very pretty.
What about number 3?
Well, maybe they're very slow writers.
Oh, number 2.
Okay, now we can jump to bean number 3. So 3 cups a week of beans. Are you meeting your requirements?
What number 4?
We're going on to number 4. Very, very well-known one. I think you might be able to identify that. Number 5. Now these are tricky. Get in there close, Nellie, because it looks a lot like number 1. And there are no duplicates. What kind of bean do you think it is? Now I talked a little bit about pulses and legumes. What's the difference between a pulse, which is the new word, and a legume? Actually, I know. Pulses are actually the seeds inside of a bean. The seed inside of a bean. Oh, she's way up to number 7. I guess she did 6 while I was talking. Up to number 7. We're on to 8. Oh, look at that. And the color might look brown to you, but it is black from this angle. And I'm just going to rinse my vegetables now that I've cut them. Up to number 9, another whitish bean. That's hard. That's why only the winner gets the money. Money. Oh, yeah. No, the money meal.
Oh, I was like, there's money?
A save money meal.
For number 10.
Number 10. And our ground beef is looking really good here. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. Here we have our ground beef. Now, if you want, you actually, this looks like really good beef because as you can see, there's not a whole lot of fat there. So I'm just gonna leave that in the pot because we're really not adding any other fat for flavor today. And what we're gonna do next, since this is a one pot meal, is on top of it, we're going to put up our chopped up peppers and onions. And you want to make sure, I like to actually leave them chunky in case you have somebody who's really adverse to eating either one of these. I like to taste my vegetables when I have them, so I'm just going to throw them right on top. And it's quiet in the kitchen as the chopping goes on. So when we talk about rehydrating beans, how many of you have rehydrated dried beans before? How many of you have it? Has anybody out there in TV land rehydrated their own beans? Now it might seem like a big hassle. Marie did. Marie did. Good job, Marie. It's really very cheap. You do find canned beans very convenient. But of course, with the price of everything going up at least 25%, you might want to think about saving a little bit of money. So what you can do is you can actually do them a couple different ways. You can do an overnight soak method. There go the onions into that wonderful one pot meal. You can fill a pot with water. You want to use 5 cups of water to every cup of dried beans that you have. Put them in a large stock pot, cover them with water, and leave them overnight. And then in the morning, you're going to want to dump them out into a colander. You're going to want to rinse them, and that's what's going to get rid of that raffinose or that sugar that causes all those gas problems. So now we have in here, we have to the camera. There you go. We have our, there you go. We have our peppers and our onions in there. Just stirring it up a little so it doesn't scorch on the bottom. And I'm going to put on my lid just to steam that a tiny little bit while that's cooking. So that's one way you can do them. And then what you do is after you rinse them out and put them back in a pot, fill them with water again, and then you can cook them to the tenderness that you desire. Now, one thing I learned, I'm learning things all the time here, is that I was making chili one day and I used some dried beans that I had actually soaked and put in, and I made chili, and those beans never got tender. I couldn't figure it out. I kept cooking and cooking and cooking, and those beans were as hard as rocks till dinner time. And I just couldn't figure it out until I read that if you use vinegary things or acidic things, like tomatoes, when you're cooking them to tenderness, they will never get tender. Who would have known? There's another question mark. Who would have known? Also, you don't want to put in, what was the other thing I learned, which I already forgot? Salt. Salt actually toughens bean skins. And so you also don't want to put your salt into your chili either until you're ready. Or any kind of bean soup or anything like that. So tell me, did you know those things before you came today? No. No. Lesson learned. Here we go. And so we're steaming that real well. And I'm going to turn it down a little bit more because there really isn't much fat in there. In fact, if you find that you have really lean meat, you might want to add just a little bit of water. And if I had an assistant, they would run and get me a little bit of water in a cup. And there she goes. Run, Nellie, run. My assistant's going to get me a little bit of water. Well, you could get it here in the kitchen. I don't know where she's running to, the bathroom. No, you're going to be on camera. Okay, so somebody had asked, what's the difference between refried beans with fat or without fat? I'm going to say the fat. Here we have cooked pinto beans with water and less than 2% of lard. So that's the ingredient that they put in when they redo beans to make refried beans, traditional refried beans. So when you're getting those ones that don't have the lard, those are the no-fat ones. And so Nellie just got me a little bit of water I'm going to add here just to steam those vegetables a little bit, and so it doesn't stick on the bottom. Wow, and I need a pot holder today. So when we think of Mexican food, we think of things like tacos, burritos. Whoa, and now I'm all steamed up. I can't even see out of my glasses. So that's looking real good. Don't have to take it out of the pot. I like one pot dishes because I really don't like to clean up. So the next thing we're going to do once those are pretty well cooked is we're actually just going to add a jar of salsa. Salsa is really easy to make, but if you don't have any, you can always buy the store brand. This is Nature's Promise. And we're just going to put that all over in there, and we're going to quit stirring now. We had stirred up those peppers and onions, but their onions are looking translucent, meaning clear. So that means they're getting soft. Got lots of good flavor in there. I'm just going to rinse out my jar here with a little bit more water. Just pour that over there. And you can see that. I'm just going to make like a layer over top. Okay, you can even smooth that out if you want, if you're a perfectionist. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put on those traditional with lard refried beans, and I can see that little layer of lard, and probably a good health choice to buy the ones that don't have that in it, depending on what type of diet you're on. So we're going to take these refried beansies, actually give this a real creamy kind of texture, kind of bind it together somewhat. So we're going to lay those on there, and then I'm just going to like spread them out a little bit on the top. Okay, there we have our next layer of the refried beans. And then I'm just going to take my rinsed black beans, and I'm going to sprinkle them over there. You could use any kind of beans at all. In fact, you could use a combination. In fact, if you don't like the refried beans, you could use combination of kidney beans and black-eyed peas and black beans. Anything you like can go into this, and we're just going to spread that out nice and even. We're just going to put the lid back on it for a minute, but you can see that it's looking kind of just like a big hodgepodge of deliciousness there. So we're going to leave that on there. So on Cinco de Mayo, when they celebrate, they make lots of great food. Of course, this is not traditional Mexican food, but at the food bank, we're always trying to find easy recipes using items that our clients can use and that they receive a lot of from the food bank. And so beans are a staple that people who receive food from the food bank would get on a regular basis. And so trying to get people to use those things in ways that are good for them, good for their family is what our goal here is at the food bank. So avocados, another item, and we're going to have a live on avocados. I believe it's in July. But how many pounds of avocados do you think Americans eat in one day on Cinco de Mayo? How many avocados? Tell me in millions of pounds. How many million pounds of avocados do Americans eat on Cinco de Mayo? Type in your answer. In one day.
5 million.
5 million. Whoa, who said that? Jan, good guess. Anybody else? How many?
3 million.
3 million. Who said that?
3.
Oh, good guess.
Adam's been kind of quiet.
Adam's quiet because he's checking on his phone what the answer is. Now, if you wanted to make this dish a little hotter, of course, or a little spicier, you could add something like chili powder, or you could add crushed red pepper, or any other kinds of peppers. We just talked about peppers the other week on live, and you can also look back in our library index here at the food bank and find that live and learn all about all sorts of
81 million.
Who said that?
Ashley.
Ashley, you are correct. Way to go, Google. Or did you ask Siri? Do you believe it? I had 80 million, but I'll take 81. 80 million pounds of avocado in one day. Wow, I bet the farmers love that holiday. All right, so now that this is starting to steam up through, you can see it, it's bubbling. Wait, up through, okay, it's got it. We want to make sure I've never had this stick, so.
Can we do that again?
We
Camera
can
2
do-
wasn't ready.
Camera 2 wasn't ready. There you go, camera 2, and it's looking good, but you can see there's still a little bit of liquid, so we're not sticking on the bottom or anything. And our last and final step is to put this, cheese makes everything better.
It does.
Cheese on this, and then I'm gonna just turn off the heat because I know it's all heated up. It's all heated through. Just gonna sprinkle that around. You could use cheddar, maybe a mix of something, and so we're just gonna camera 2.
Oh, wait, camera 2. Director, get on it. Camera 2. There we go.
There we go. And so then we're gonna just put the lid on that, turn off the heat, and set the table.
I
That's
pushed
what we want.
smell-o-vision. They should smell it right now.
They should smell it right now. Okay, we're gonna go to our guesses and see who did well on their bean quiz. And Miss Nellie, I'm gonna have you hand me those cards. That's perfect. You're gonna be my Vanna White over there, and you're gonna rip off number 1 bean and show me that picture. So, no, you're gonna show it to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because that's my cheat sheet. Okay, so here we have, maybe just put a little more. Anybody have a guess? How are you gonna do that? I'm gonna come up front.
Okay.
Hey, look at that.
This is live, but we're also in the baby stages of this show, so bear with us. Who has an idea what bean this is?
Nobody?
Any,
Crickets?
any guesses?
Maybe?
Very close, very close. No, these are actually, because of the
Are we-
size, are lima beans, dried lima beans. These make wonderful additions to salad, soups, and casseroles. They're also called butter beans.
Butter beans.
Number 1 was butter beans. How about number 2?
Number 2, everyone.
I think this is the most widely eaten one in Mexico.
Pinto.
Pinto is correct.
Hooray!
If you got pinto, you're right. They're speckled where they're dried, but they actually go to a uniform pinkish brown color when cooked. They have an earthy flavor, so they are a staple of Southwestern and Mexican cooking. Good job. Number 3, you know it,
Oh, yeah.
garbanzo beans, right? Garbanzo beans or chickpeas, and we talked about that being Middle Eastern hummus, okay? They have a very firm texture, so if you're gonna cook something for a really long time, these are the beans that won't break down.
Break it down.
Number 4. Ooh. Do we have any guesses? Any guesses?
Kidney.
Kidney, yes, they are your kidney beans. Are they on that side? This
It's the
side?
left kidney bean.
Okay, it's the left kidney bean. All right, and kidney beans are available in light or dark red, and they add color and texture. And when I make special dishes, I like to add a lot of different colored beans just because it looks great. Also served a lot with red beans and rice. Number 5.
This is tough.
Where are you at?
You got
They
nothing.
used them in the
Navy.
military. They are Navy beans.
Yay,
You are
hooray.
correct. They are Navy beans. And they were named because they were a staple of the sailors' diets in the 1800s. They're also used in pork and beans.
Oh.
And I think this is my last one
Oh, no.
on that side.
Oh, yeah.
These are used in Western United States, pink beans. So they kind of look like the pintos, but without that other color. So those are pink, but you can use them in place of pinto beans.
Pink.
So think pink for pinto. Number 7, something a little unusual.
Are those actual size?
These are actual, well, no, they're
I'm
blown
just
up a
kidding.
little bit.
I'm just kidding.
They're not quite this big. That would be as big as my eye. These are cranberry beans, pink with dark red streaks. The streaks fade, but they have a very nutty flavor. So they're used in Italian cooking.
Never heard of those.
Well, now you have. Number 8
Ah, my favorite.
in our recipe today. No, they're not brown. They are black
Black beans,
beans.
black beans.
black beans. And the third of the white beans? Come on, people, you got this one. I use these in my Italian chili.
Cannelli?
These are great northern beans, but cannellis are a great substitute, Marie. Good job.
I'll see, Marie, she knew it was you. I didn't say.
Only because I saw it on the screen. All right,
Nice.
number 10. This is kind of unusual. These originated in China and Japan. So if you've eaten some food maybe from there, you've seen them. They taste similar to kidney beans. They have a light nutty flavor and they're called adzuki beans. So by process of elimination, you should have had that one. And number 11. Come on, if you grew up in the South.
Oh, yeah. It's a great band.
What are they? They are black-eyed peas or black-eyed beans, also called cowpeas, black-eyed Susies, and they're creamy with a dark spot on one side. These don't require, but are they a bean? Black-eyed peas, they actually are considered a bean. There's lots of different, whether it's, are they classifying them scientifically? Are they classifying them by a nutritional standpoint? I don't know, but they were in the lesson. Okay, so they're found in traditional Southern recipes, and they go well with strong flavored things like kale or chard. And so now you know about all those beans. And to finish up today, I'm going to show you what dinner. And so I like to serve this either with brown or white rice. Usually I serve it over rice for my husband. He loves it that way. Adds another little addition to it. Here's what it looks like, camera 2. Oh, does that look good?
That looks good.
But now what we're going to do is you can serve it a couple different ways. We like it over rice, but you also could serve it over a tortilla or in a tortilla. So we're just going to scoop down in here and it's already all made. Look at that. That's amazing. Wait for it. Wait for it. Camera 2, it looks amazing. Doesn't that look delicious? And I actually had a little bit of cilantro that was here from some Mexican food they had on Friday, but it's still good. You could put lettuce on this. You could put tomatoes, some avocado, or you could roll it up and eat it just as is. Or my favorite way, with chips. Yeah, with chips. And so it's kind of like a really good bean dip. Look at that. This is Mondays with Mary Ann, and you've been to Live. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.